Thank you for joining us for season 26, episode 10 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
My name is Kimmy.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Tappy.
In this episode of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast, Ben from Texas writes in about divine intervention. Anonymous sends a question about Monster of the Week. And Steve from Atlanta writes in about playing characters outside of the game. But first, if you'd like to email us, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. We have a forum, happyjacksforum.com. That's happyjacksforum.com. We're on all of the social meteors. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, MeWe, happyjacksrpg, all one word. That's happyjacksrpg, all one word. And if you'd like to watch the show live, we do the show at 7:16 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time on Fridays at happyjacks.org/live. There.
Good job.
That must be totally insane for people who listen to this on like double speed.
Yeah.
I try to discourage that.
Yes.
I still have not successfully heard the word MeWe and not giggled, and I don't know why.
It's the funniest name. Divine intervention from Ben in Texas. Howdy. Oh, by the way, I should mention we're streaming remotely, or we're all remote because for safety, obviously. So, and as soon as we can end this and have good audio again, we will.
Yes.
I swear it.
So hang in there. We promise to have our good quality audio back very soon.
Yes. Divine intervention from Ben in Texas. Howdy, Happy Jackers. That's alliterative. This email was inspired by your recent discussion of how to portray a god as a GM. I had a cleric PC in a recent game. At several points during the campaign, it was narratively appropriate for the cleric to speak directly to his god. The solution I came up with is going to be my standard response to any situation in the future. PC. What should I do? Deity. My child, you wield my power not because you have faith in me, but because I have faith in you. Follow your heart. You will find the way and make me proud.
God is Simba?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that's actually a killer answer. I mean, that's incredible.
How's that for divine intervention, he asked. D&D in particular has a mechanic that allows clerics to literally call down their god and tell them exactly what they should do. How awful for a role-playing game.
Agreed.
Yeah. Whenever something like this comes up, I try to turn the spotlight back on the player character and encourage character development. And I try like hell not to give the party any straightforward answers. This is definitely one of those things that's hard to handle as a GM. It seems to me that the best way to handle it is to bounce it back to the players as much as possible and not feed them any answers beyond what you had intended in the scene. Hope this helps. Ben from Texas. Thoughts?
I don't actually like 100% agree with this, even though it's always great to just bounce things back to the players rather than dictate what they should do. But I think the idea that a god knows the correct thing to do is like the right answer. I think like D&D gods, or anytime you have like a polytheistic religion, all of them are like very small slices of reality. So what that god thinks you should do isn't an answer for that thing. Like a god of death is going to have a different answer than a god of war, than a different one that has like a god of love. They're all going to have different answers. They're all going to have repercussions because humans or humanoids live in a world that isn't just one thing. So it's gods are myopic. And so if you give them myopic answers that the god wants, maybe they go and do it the first time and have all sorts of repercussions. Maybe they do it the second time, but by the third time or fourth time, maybe they're like, this god isn't necessarily all-knowing, and this god doesn't necessarily care if, or maybe wants, like, say, half the children to die in the kingdom. And that's a good thing for a god of death.
Sure.
So I would say look at the problem myopically from the point of that god, and let the other player characters who are not worshiping that god go, what the actual fuck?
Yeah, I also have a kind of a crunchy rules lawyer side of this, which is not usually my point of view. But I feel like if somebody sits down to play a cleric in D&D and they're thinking, yeah, this is part of my kit. When I get to this level, I'm going to get to call on my god and they're going to tell me what to do. On one hand, yes, I absolutely love the God of War. The right thing to do is kick that door down and beat up anyone on the other side. That is the correct move, which may or may not be, and also, deities in these types of settings are usually operating with their own version of imperfect information. And so they want something and they want you to do that thing. But the other thing, I would be really shy about saying, okay, you called on your god feeds you some bullshit and moves on. And if that's an ability that you can use like once a day or use as a spell slot or a channel divinity or something like that, you have to pay up. Like if it's in your game and it's a thing that that class can do, you have to pay up on the debt. Or at the start say, hey, cleric, you play cleric, everything's normal, but I'm pulling this one thing because I don't like the way it works for the setting that I'm doing. And that's okay too, as long as you do it up top, not in the middle of them using this thing they've been waiting to do the whole campaign.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, a cleric talking to their god is a big deal. But also, like, a cleric or a paladin finding their faith challenged when something goes wrong, or at least they can see it going wrong, but their god thinks something is right. I think that's a very interesting thing, especially for, like, I don't know, like a 12th or 13th or 15th level character. You've been championing this god for a very, very long time, and having a crisis of faith that late into your development, I think, is a really interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it totally is.
I agree with it. Now, is it actually a power that you get as a cleric where you get to like use your god as a phone a friend?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a channel divinity or a spell or something. I can't remember exactly what it is, but there is that you have some sort of resource as a cleric that paladins don't get, but clerics specifically get this ability for direct line, red phone. What do I do in this situation? And it says something like your god will give you an honest answer or something like that. But the part of this that I would do is operate. The god has a perspective. The god wants things. It's not omniscient. Gods in polytheistic religions usually are not omniscient, not omnipotent. They want things, and they have clerics and paladins in the world, sort of like demigods, to go around and do the things that they can't do because they're not supposed to, run around in the real world.
Right.
So if that deity is operating with imperfect information, what they want you to do may not be a great idea, but they'll at least tell you, this is what I want you to do.
Yeah. That's always super fun to play with.
All right. Thank you, Ben from Texas. Monster of the Week question from Anonymous. Who would like to read that?
I actually have the wording of divine intervention here on my computer if you want that real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Beginning at 10th level, you can call on your deity to intervene on your behalf when your need is great. Imploring your deity's aid requires you to use your action. Describe the assistance you seek and roll percentile dice. If you roll a number equal to or lower than your cleric level, your deity intervenes. The DM chooses the nature of the intervention. The effect of any cleric spell or cleric domain spell would be appropriate. If your deity intervenes, you can't use this feature again for 7 days. Otherwise, you can use it again after you finish a long rest. At 20th level, your call for intervention succeeds automatically, no roll required.
That's interesting. So at 19th level, you have a 19% of it working. And then at 20th level, you have a 100% chance of it working.
But that also means that at 20th level, that is a huge part of your kit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So pulling that from the cleric kit has to be, you have to do that up front because that's a big, big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And roll that.
And give something else.
Yeah, ideally. but or at least say like, look, this isn't a component. Like the premise of the game is no one has heard from their god personally in a long time, and you're going to go find out why. Okay, well, here we go. But yeah.
I think Dark Sun has that where like clerics are of elements, not of gods, and so having a god come in would be really weird. So
yeah,
cool.
I can read this next one if you want.
Okay, yeah, go.
Get it all on one page here. Monster of the Week question from Anonymous. Probably not the hacker group, I'm assuming.
You don't know.
I had to transcribe this, and it was like a computer voice that said, I am running a bi-weekly.
I'm running a bi-weekly Monster of the Week game for a group of friends. It is a good group with various experience levels of TTRPGs and role-playing. It is also a large group of 6+ players. Okay, yes, that is very big. The problem I'm having is in combat. I throw the Monster of the Week at the group, and they just form a semicircle of gunfire and mow the creature down. I have tried to think of creative ways beyond giving monsters high armor and high health, but I am having trouble coming up with ideas. So I turn to you. Any fun ideas for combat and Monster of the Week? Thank you for all you do. Anonymous, boy, have you come to the right place. Yes, we have ideas. Number one, the intangible monster. They're going to have to find some sort of doohickey to be able to trap it in a ghost trap and use a proton pack. Never mind, that's just the plot of Ghostbusters, but something like that.
Or a spell.
Yep, a spell.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if you do that, make sure it's not like a D&D like trap or something where there's like one right answer. Like kind of go with like if they're creative and they come up with some cool solutions, like go with that. That's okay. Yeah,
it is okay to say the one wrong answer is shooting it, right? I think that's an okay thing to bring up sometimes.
Yes.
Is like, hey gang, this one, you can't shoot it or hit it with a bat. That's just not going to work. And you telegraph that some way. You don't punish them by, finding out, oh, you hit it with a bat, it whiffs, and then it eats your brain and you're dead. That's not fun. But
I do like the halfway where it's like, oh, you hit it with a bat, it whiffs. You better duck.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. To telegraph that kind of interaction is a lot of fun.
So
yeah, go ahead.
Quick question: is Monster of the Week one of those that when you do the seize by force move, they automatically like return harm for harm, or is it that you get a move?
I believe they trade harm.
Okay, see, that's unfortunate. That's one of the things I dislike the most about Apocalypse World 2nd Edition, because if you have the first guy who attacks, you can use a move that gets that monster out of there. And then somebody has to try and find it, do something to try and catch it, and then you can do another move. And that's how you draw characters away from each other, which is a move you can use, and single them out, and then you have the monster attack them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could still separate people, use hard moves whenever it's appropriate.
Right. But it's like, specifically in like right then, like how the rules work when you trade harm for harm. I don't know. It's very unfortunate that you're locked into that, in my opinion, as opposed to trading harm for harm when you, as the MC chooses to. I can understand how for players that seems more fair because they know what's going to happen when they attack. But it feels a little more interesting and more elegant if you do it the other way.
Yeah, that's true.
Then you can always just hope that you roll high enough to have two selections, and one of them is to avoid their blows or whatever it is. That one's in Monster of the Week, right? They have one of the options there. It's something else, but... Yeah,
Masks has it for sure.
Yeah. Most of them have some variant of it, though.
Yeah.
I've had the unfortunate thing where I've read and played so many different games that they all blur together, and it's very difficult to remember which one has which specific rule.
Yeah. Have you seen Apocalypse World?
No.
I think it's powered by the Apocalypse World.
Yeah.
And each playbook is a different type of Apocalypse World game, and you are that. So
So I have the Apocalypse World playbook. Oh, I
Yeah.
have the Mask playbook.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. All right, let's go around. We still need ideas from Tappy, myself, and Stu. Tappy, do you have ideas for combat in Monster of the Week?
Well, I just did.
But
Having the monster, if somebody attacks it, the monster, instead of trading harm for harm, gets out of there.
Got it.
You use a move to get out of there, and then as they chase it, you can continue to use your MC moves to draw them out and try and move them around, etc. Or just get out of there. That's a trope in a lot of like Monster of the Week shows.
Yeah.
It's like they find the thing and then it's gone, and maybe bad things happen from that, or have to figure something else out rather than just mow it down with the Tommy gun.
Yeah. Cool. Stuart.
Play a game with a real combat system. I really have no opinion because I've never played Monster of the Week.
Okay.
I haven't even read it. Hi.
Hi. I run an RPG podcast. I know things. I think I always like the unexpected combats. Like I like the monsters or the baddies who don't seem like baddies at first, and then it ends up kind of being a surprise. It's like, I don't know. I think maybe just because I'm creeped out by kids and stuff like that are like, oh, the bad kid who like ends up being like the monster, and you're like, ah! It's not like this little blonde, beautiful child. It's an alien or something like that. Yes, I'm a teacher. I know.
I love that you're creeped out by kids. That's awesome.
Well, evil little kids, because like I'm like the teacher who like sees,
so kids.
Yeah, well, no, they're not evil. That's the thing. So like when you find like a really evil kid, it's super creepy. All right.
They're all evil.
They're not.
They start out that way.
No,
Mm-hmm.
they don't.
Teach them not to be. Some of us try.
Try. I don't know. When she doesn't bring me Girl Scout cookies for like 4 weeks in a row, that's pretty evil.
Mm.
Oh yeah. But she was hoarding them.
I know.
She's just
Probably
preparing.
She probably ate them.
I finally got one box. Finally.
Right.
She's preparing for the cookie apocalypse.
Insider
right.
cookie trading.
Next email. Who would like to read that?
I will read this one. Or you want to do it, Tappy?
No, do it.
Okay. Playing characters outside of the game from Steve in Atlanta. Evening, folks. First of all, congrats on another successful Rainbow Railroad Marathon. I am working my way through the audio and enjoying all of it. Have you ever dropped into an RPG character in the mundane world? Not talking fair or cons. I mean, like the local supermarket. It could be using a name, an accent, or referencing a game encounter as though it happened. Here's a situation I found myself in recently, and it was a lot of fun. I have a half-orc face character, wise words instead of good looks, named Solvik. My friend and I are playing twin brothers. We decided to go with Russian accents because why not? They're the best. That wasn't an email. I was at a local McDonald's getting a quick breakfast before my commute. Not sure why I dropped into character, but it was comedy gold. Note, if Kimmy's there, have her read this, both parts in Russian. And
Yes,
the
done well.
typical Georgia fast food worker. I don't know if I can do. I guess I could probably do Georgia. I'm sure she
Georgia's
will
near Russia.
be close to the. Yeah. May I take your order? Yeah, now switching's hard. Good day to. No, I can't do that. Wait.
You want me to do the southerner?
Yeah, you do the southerner. I can't switch back and forth that fast.
May I take your order?
Good day to you. I would like one of your biscuits. I would have pork as well.
You want a sausage biscuit?
That is correct.
You want anything else?
I would also like to purchase a very large beverage. Tea with ice, no sugar.
You want a large unsweet tea?
That is what I said.
You want anything else?
There are many things I would like, but that is all you can provide.
May I have a name for your order?
I shall call it breakfast. Lots of laughter from the rest of the line. You mean my name, Solvik.
How do you spell that?
Do your best. I shall wait over here. I'm really sure she wanted to type shithead for the name. I waited a few minutes and the order was ready. I should have left it at that, but I wanted to seed some confusion to an otherwise frustrating encounter for her. As I walked up to her to take the order from her,
Have a good day.
Spasparabji. I don't think I said that right, but I am not often away from the embassy. A good morning to you as well. I am a shy person by nature, but that felt wonderful. At least you'd have an interesting story to tell over dinner that night. Anyone else ever drop into character at weird times, or is it just me? Thanks for all you do. I appreciate you sharing your gaming with the world. Steve from Atlanta.
I can't say I've done anything exactly like this. This is pretty
Very in character.
Yeah, the LARPing with people who don't know they're LARPing can be hilarious. I've actually done something like this at Burning Man as kind of like a weird interactive like art piece. A friend of mine built an art car that looks like a boat, and so we were like an adventuring party on this boat, and there was like a final place that we needed to go, and there was some sort of quest. It's all kind of hazy to me now. But it was a lot of fun because you stop and you ask people like where this thing is, because we had several stops along the way. And if they like responded, oh, it's over here, kind of like played in character, we had these little brass like coins that my friend had struck for this. And then so we like passed out gold coins to everybody and stuff like that. And it was fucking awesome.
That is awesome. But I have to say, at Burning Man, I feel like you show up kind of ready for anything. Like
this is true.
Something weird's gonna happen today. I don't know what it is, but it's gonna happen.
I'm already excited about it.
Yeah. And a barbarian wizard just asked me where the alien queen is.
Yeah, I feel like that adds up.
Yeah.
But the poor McDonald's employee, I feel a little bad, but not a lot bad.
Yeah.
The closest thing I did to something like this, which wasn't this at all, was in the late 90s when Bill and I were roommates. He had acquired a large camcorder. This is back when they were big. They're like 18 inches long, and they used the big VHS tapes. And I don't remember exactly how it was, but at some point, one of us, we were sitting in our apartment, and one of us mentioned, you know what? Everyone will talk to you if you're carrying a camera. And I'm like, hey, let's go to 2nd Street, which is the big hangout place where all the bars are. Mm-hmm. So I think it was a Saturday night or a Friday night. And so we drove over there, and then we're walking from the car because you have to park half mile away from the place. And as we're walking, he's like, we should like be not us. And then we brainstormed back and forth, and we're like, let's be English exchange students who are out here on a holiday. And
well, you guys were really bored before the internet.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Of course we were. And so we went around, and Bill still has that videotape, and we met all kinds of people, and some people gave us mini tours where they took us to different bars and stuff like that. It's hysterical. But that's about as close as I got. But that wasn't a D&D character. That was just us pretending that we're English and using the word flat a lot.
Yeah.
Instead of apartment.
I've done like that. I think every like theater kid at some point like does that after, when you're, it was in high school, actually, the one I really clearly remember. And a bunch of us went out to like Denny's after a performance or something.
Why is it always Denny's? It's always Denny's.
Because they're the only place
it was
open.
Cheap and
yeah. Because you can get a whole meal for like $2 back then.
Yeah, it's open late and cheap.
Yeah.
And they put up with our shit.
Yeah. It was really dumb though, because it was kind of a small town. So it was like we were all putting on bad accents. And then like 2 of the wait staff who weren't in our section at first, like worked at our school, and they were just like, theater people. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
I have one like extremely wimpy version of this is when I'm traveling, occasionally I will just give a different name at Starbucks, and because it's amusing to me and no one else. But that doesn't really rank on the scale of, pretending to be a party of adventurers asking where the queen is.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah. I feel like thinking back now, like, and because I ended up working in the food service industry, it does feel a little
Like,
crappy.
like,
Like,
oh, you made somebody's night suck.
well, there's also like, in the chat room is just talking about that. There's like that power dynamic, like not quite so much at McDonald's because they don't rely on tips, but
Right.
especially like us at Denny's, like the waitress like relying on our tips, which were probably going to be shit anyway because we're high school kids.
Yeah.
Although I like to think that I was a good tipper back then too. I have no idea. But I don't know. It just is like they're like, oh, this is fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah. Well, y'all are so clever.
So funny. It's so great. I totally thought you were Scottish.
No, actually, we actually continued our game. We were super hungry. This is back in college.
Mm-hmm.
We were super hungry one night, so we drove to Denny's, of course, and we actually played at the corner table at Denny's for like an hour, and then went back to the game.
That's cool.
Oh, nice.
Took our dice and character sheets and everything.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I have one more story. This one is also Burning Man, but it's different because a friend of mine's bike got stolen from our camp. So another person from our camp and we went go looking for the bike, but prom was that night, and she had a very light lilac dress that looked white in the moonlight, and I had on a tux. First camp we went to, they asked, "Did you just get married?" And we looked at each other and said, "Yes, we did." And then talked for a good half an hour about how we met, where we're going to go honeymoon. And it was just, one after the other. And then when we go to the next camp, same question. So we came back completely destroyed. But also, like, spontaneously, we're different characters.
That's
That's
fun.
great.
I've done
wish we had planned it.
Yeah, I've done that where it's like you and a friend like make up stories, or like usually that's not with like wait staff, so I don't really feel so bad about that. It's like people are like, oh,
I will lie for booze.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
just lie to the general public as opposed to people who are hoping you will pay them enough to put up with this scenario.
There are actually a couple times where I was hanging out with Heather and the kids in different places, Stu's kids, when he was working or something. And we either got like, she was my mom and they were my kids, or we got that we were lesbian lovers raising kids together. So sometimes Stu's like chuckling.
That tracks.
So there were times where like people would ask stuff and like, because it was like none of their business and they would be sort of judgy or whatever. I'd be like, well, yeah. And you'd like make up a story like right on the spot. And they'd be like, oh yeah. Okay. It's just, that was always fun. But I feel like those people deserved that. So
yeah. Oh, they 100% did.
yeah. So much. Chat room is saying, but did you find the bike? Tappy, you buried the lead.
Oh, no, we didn't. Well, we might have. We wouldn't have known because we went around the block and every single camp gave us booze and sat and chatted with us and gave us more. So by the time we got back, like, I think I fell asleep in front of my trailer. I never made it to prom. So, I mean, we very well could have found it and then lost it and forgotten.
Nice.
I have no idea.
Some guy's just sitting there, like, sitting on it and, like, keeps handing you alcohol. And it's just like, here. Nice. Stu, do we have another email?
I'm looking right now. Okay. I think so.
We flew through those, so.
Okay. This is from, let's see, who's this from? Allervant.
Okay.
After leaving my game group last August and taking a break of regular play, that's in quotes, I still do organized play at conventions. I want to get back into the hobby. My old group used the hero system, so it's very likely I'd have to learn a new RPG system. While I'm fine with that, I do have some preferences of the type of system and the campaign setting. I'm concerned they may be unreasonable and or restrict the possible groups/games too much. What are your thoughts? Some of my preferences are: 1, a greater emphasis on role play than combat. 2, the PCs to be the heroes or at least have the moral high ground, no anti-heroes or mercenary thugs. 3, a system with free rule books or one where it's okay if I don't have the rules at first. 4, point-based system. I'm not a fan of rolling for stats because too much depends on luck in the beginning. 5, a non-class system, so I have more freedom to create and develop my character as I see fit, or at least there being enough class flexibility to allow for such freedom. And 6, a modern or sci-fi setting, no horror or a post-apocalyptic. I find them depressing. Can do fantasy, but it needs to hook to distinguish it from J.R.R. Tolkien tribute to help me care about the setting and the characters. Given the popularity of D&D and Pathfinder, the last 3 items are going to be deal breakers. I'm willing to compromise on some points, but how much is too much? Allermand, mandatory PS. Since someone is likely to ask, yes, I have been in fantasy campaigns before. Often the GM would have us go through towns and even countries that didn't have a name or anything unique about them. They were as generic as the yellow box with the breakfast cereal on the front in big black letters. So is he being too restrictive on what he's looking for in a game?
I don't think so.
Well, the free part might be the difficult one if you want something like that's more like point based and etc.
I think to me it sounds like it comes from a place of having a string of bad experiences, which I definitely can relate to. I've been there. I've been in those games that just like it doesn't matter what the system is, it's gonna suck. But I can also say if you get D&D or Shadowrun or GURPS with the right group of people, it's gonna be rad. You know, like you can do all of the things and have a super fun time. But also none of those books are free. So although I will say Shadowrun 5th edition is extremely discounted at this point, and 6th edition is hot garbage, so you don't need to worry about it. You just go get a used 5th edition book. All you need is the core rule book, and you have a complete setting. But the other thing I would say is I think you're going to have a lot of trouble finding a game to play in that checks all of those boxes. However, if you're ready to run a game, you get to make it what you want it to be. And that can really, I mean, that has been the start of a lot of games I've run of like, no one's doing this thing I want to do. I guess I'll do it. And then it was still a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I would suggest Wild Talents. So that's a point buy system. It's superheroes, but I've skinned it as other things really easily. So you could have it be like modern fantasy, really easy, things like that. It's made to be a modern setting. It's not free again. So sorry, that's like the one that's going to be screwed up. But it's like $20.
No, well, there's a scaled down version that just gives you the system without the setting. That's like $10.
Yeah, it's like $10 or $12, something like that. It's very inexpensive.
Yeah, and if you're coming up with your own world and stuff like that, I adore that system. I love the combat in that. It's really fast to play, super easy to customize and kind of make your own. And it's not free, but it's much, much cheaper than a lot of other RPGs.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you guys ever have Bill and Ted just shout "Wild Talents"?
That'd be very cool.
That happens all the time in my head when everybody says that.
That's
it's like
great.
Wild Stallions, but it's not. Yeah,
that's funny. No, that's never occurred to me, but it will now never not occur to me.
Will always be.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
No, really, his first 2 items have nothing to do with system. They have to do with the people sitting around the table. A greater emphasis on role play than combat.
Yeah.
And the PCs get to be the heroes, or at least have the moral high ground. No anti-heroes or mercenary thugs. So that's a gaming group preference.
Yeah. But sometimes that is a hard turn. Like when we sit down to play D&D or Shadowrun, it's we role play in spite of the system. You know, like D&D is not encouraging all of the role play and character interaction and all that stuff. In fact, it's a tiny part of the game compared to the massive section of how to do combat. And you have to weigh that as like, so this game is designed to do this, but if you find the right people, you can still role play and have a good time. I'll role play in Monopoly if you don't stop me. So, the system really doesn't matter as far as that goes.
I have 2 suggestions for a system. Both of them are sci-fi, like far future, because I think that was one of the things, right? It was modern or sci-fi.
Modern or sci-fi?
Okay. First one, Traveler. Traveler is a great one. You have it's point buy. There are lots of rules for things, but also it is very. You can be in the Third Imperium, but also there are very generic books that are designed to allow you to do a whole lot of different things.
Does it not randomize the starting stats though?
I never did. I think I house ruled that because I hate rolling for stats.
Yeah, me too. I despise it forever.
Yeah, I might have actually house ruled that.
I think they actually have alternate rules in there for people who don't want to randomly roll their stats.
Okay.
I think they have. I don't remember if it was in first or second, but one of them had an alternative for that.
I will say though, in Traveler, that's like the one game where I just know I'm going to come to the table with zero concept and roll my first die and find out who this character is. And I'm okay with that when I sit down to play Traveler. I just don't make plans ahead of time versus any other role-playing game. Like, oh, okay, I'm going to be an orc from this like nice part of town and do, like just whatever that,
I don't know. I think it's kind of fun to start with an idea, but then be okay with it going sideways because it's going to.
Yeah, I end up feeling frustrated in that situation. So I have to come to Traveler blank.
Fair enough.
James V in the chat room says he thinks it's in the compendium to the point buy system for Traveler versus the no roll stats part. Sorry, continue.
Although, is the Traveler book like how much is the Traveler book?
It's not cheap.
Oh.
Although the first edition one is not bad, if I recall.
Mongoose first edition. I love Mongoose first edition Traveler. I think it's great.
But I think they had a paperback version of it, a small like reduced size one that was reasonably priced. I don't remember how much it was though. But
I have that one. I think that was second edition though.
No, it was first. I think it was first.
Okay.
I have more of a question for us than an actual.
Tappy still had something he was going to say, right?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I had a second system, but if you have one,
no, go ahead. Mine can follow that.
Okay. So the second system, and this depends on a lot on whether or not you like this world, but the Modiphius Star Trek is great.
Oh.
And it's very much for role playing. It very much is. Technobabble is the greatest thing the Federation can do, right?
Yep.
So you have a huge swath of things you can do with your imagination. Starship combat is really great because everybody has a ton of stuff to do and stuff that isn't just shooting. I think it's a great system for what you're looking for. Again, not cheap. But if you want to play in the Star Trek universe, I think it's awesome.
Cool.
So the thing occurs to me that none of us have suggested, which I think is probably intentional, but I just want to ask, none of us are talking about PBTA games.
Those aren't point buy.
Although they're not point buy, but they are heavily like your playbook. It can definitely be viewed as a class, and until you get advancements, it's really hard to dip into other playbooks and customize it. So that might be the deal breaker, but I'm just thinking they are small books that are cheap to zero. In some cases, you can get them for free. There's no randomized stats. It is focused on role play to the point of almost discouraging combat in some systems. And it checked off some of the other boxes as well.
Nice.
But being locked into those playbooks. Sorry, Stu, what?
Modern or sci-fi setting. I'm going through his list. Non-class system, point-based system with free rule books, or where it's okay to not have it. PCs for heroes, and greater emphasis on role-playing combat.
Yeah, you definitely don't need the PBTA book most of the time. Just having the playbooks is enough to play with. However, the playbooks do end up feeling class-based for a lot of people.
Have you guys ever played Farflung?
Mm-mm.
It's bananas. It is like very much, how we talk about high fantasy a lot? It is high sci-fi. And it's a lot of fun. Let me
like space opera?
I don't know if I would call it space opera. but is definitely like because it isn't like Star Wars. Let me get you guys the playbooks here real quick.
While you're looking that up, another idea is to go onto itch.io and just browse for RPGs there. There are a lot of free RPGs, $1 and $2 RPGs, low impact, small rule books, definitely going to be role-playing focused, and maybe there'll be something on there that sparks an idea that feels accessible.
Also, Atomic Panda in the chat room says Forged in the Dark has a similar to PBTA, but it also has like a point buy system.
Yep, that's true.
Oh, okay.
So I'm looking at the Far-Flung playbooks right now, and you can have one of them as the Clockworker, where you can meddle about with time and space. There is Being a Pure Energy.
Sure.
There is the Extinctioner, a sentient vapor cloud, or swarm of nanites. It is absolutely like out of control bananas, the type of characters you can be. Yeah. So if you're tired of doing something like regular and want to go far-flung,
just bonkers.
I would suggest that. If you just want something, a new mouthfeel, that might be a good one.
Has anyone played the Expanse RPG?
Negative.
No.
I'm almost done with the 3rd season. My gosh, it's good.
Yeah, I love the show and the books, but I haven't played the RPG yet.
It just recently came out, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw it at the game store. All right.
Cool.
Anything else?
No, I think that was a good buffet of things.
Mm.
Now I'm gonna put in the anthem later. So we're gonna pretend that I'm playing the anthem right now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then it ducks down. Thank you for joining us for season 26, episode 10 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
My name is Kimmy.
I'm Jason.
This is Tappy.
And we'll see you next time, and we'll leave you with a song.